Hi everyone, how's it going? Thanks for coming along today. My name's Connor and my presentation is please define feedback and discuss the challenges and benefits of both giving and receiving feedback in medicine. So quite a lot to unpack there, but I think a good starting point is what is feedback? So feedback is a process where learners obtain information about the standard of their work and they find the similarities and the differences between their standard of work and the appropriate standard of work. And this leads to them generating improved work. But sometimes feedback is easier said than done, and if given improperly, it could lead to false confidence, or it could make students feel demoralized and fearful of making mistakes. Also, unfortunately, feedback tends to go from a senior to junior direction most of the time. Because of the nature of medicine, it's quite high stakes. There can sometimes be challenges in receiving timely and detailed feedback. Also, medicine is something that values autonomy and self-direction, so supervised feedback may not always be the best approach. Now, a common method of giving feedback is the sandwich approach, where you give a positive comment, suggest room for improvement, then ends with another positive comment. Unfortunately, sometimes this can be delivered too sensitively and the comments can be hard to decipher. Also, students may focus on the praise a bit more than the room for improvement. The solution to this is an analytical approach to human behavior. We need to get rid of subjective and interpretive comments. We need to replace them with comments that are more objective and observational in nature. They are much more valuable forms of feedback. Feedback's not only from teacher to student, it's also from peer to peer. So peer feedback, whilst important, it can sometimes, if done improperly, could lead to disruption, a bad team environment, maybe distrust within the team, or competition. And giving feedback to your peers can be difficult. It can be uncomfortable. There may be a lack of anonymity when giving feedback, and there may be pre-existing biases due to pre-existing interpersonal relationships. Students may not have the expertise to give feedback. They may be too nice and say things to be polite, and they may lack insight to give accurate feedback as well. Overall, the main challenges to feedback within medicine are credibility and constructiveness, where credibility is not directly observing your learner, and constructiveness is not giving precise feedback with a detailed action plan to your learner. The solution to this is to focus on your learner's priorities. What is their unique judgment, their unique priorities? And if you fully invest in what's important to the learner, it reduces the emotional weight on the giver and the taker alike in that dynamic. We call this the educational alliance. It is where there's a shared bond, shared activities, and a shared plan. And if you can agree on the right course of action, more positive behaviors are likely to follow, and the learner is more likely to succeed with their goals. Important qualities in giving feedback to a learner is being learner-centered in your approach, being honest to them, and being dedicated. Also, the ability to think on your feet and treat each learner and their unique context individually is very useful as well. It's important to give your learner a plan of action, also help them to manage their objectives. But there's only so much you can do. The best thing to do is to promote reflection within the learner and see if you can help them to come to their own conclusions. The importance of an action plan cannot be emphasized enough. This is what makes feedback more constructive. If you have a specific action plan with steps to implement it, the learner is more likely to stick with this plan and therefore more likely to follow through, more likely to succeed. And it is vitally important that we all become skilled in giving feedback, because one day you may be in a situation where you have to become a whistleblower. If you see something that you don't approve of and you want to report it, it's so important we have that skill. We need to encourage the giving of feedback to senior members of the team. How do we do that? We teach people how to communicate suggestions for improvement, and we teach them how to communicate their emotions openly and honestly without coming across as offensive or patronizing. And this is a skill that comes with time. We need to have just practice, practice, and more practice of it. And it's so important that we give feedback to each other as often as possible because it's the best thing to receive. We need to change the culture and the perspective. Feedback is a gift rather than an attack. And there are so many things that add value to feedback. If we look at peer feedback again, peers work together a lot, maybe more so than a student would with a teacher. So with peers working together so much, they really have a unique and accurate perspective of their peers. They can motivate each other very effectively and they can reinforce positive habits and a positive culture. Also, within peer-to-peer feedback, it allows us to identify individuals who may be at risk of professionalism concerns early on. The earlier you can identify that, the better. It improves our sense of responsibility for one another, and it improves our analytical skills, our team working, our communication, and our team dynamics. In conclusion, feedback is not just a simple transaction between teacher and learner. It's a constant set of dynamics that are influenced by cultural and individual factors. The most important thing to emphasize is that there should always be safety around feedback. No one should be afraid to speak their mind. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I welcome any questions. Here are my references.